Okay, in this video, I'd like to talk about the hierarchy of metapragmatic sets of propositions. So we're going to discuss the hierarchy, which is to say we're going to talk about how do we define the different levels of the hierarchy and what kinds of propositions belong to those sets. So I like to think of this progression as really naturalistic in a meta-epistemic sense. I also like to think of it as a sort of behaviorism because we're going to be discussing sets of context or descriptions of behavior. Okay, so historically in the philosophy of language, there's been three kind of schools of development. One school of development focuses on the relationship between language and the world, and that's the semantic set of arguments. Then we have another school that focuses on language itself and the formal features of language in the sense of structure and syntactics. That's the syntactic set of arguments. And then we have the school which looks at language as a tool, the pragmatic school, looking at context. Okay, so basically these different schools have been arguing each other and interrelating in all sorts of different interesting ways, and what I'm trying to do with my meta-pragmatic hierarchy of propositions is show that propositions about the meanings or structures of propositions are subsets of a grander set of propositions, which is the set of propositions about propositions. And by taking this look at the subsets of propositions about propositions, we're using propositions on a higher order again of propositions about propositions, and then we can look at the features of that set. So what we can say about what we can say, and then looking at what we can say about that. So I've set up this sort of chart here that looks at metapragmatic sets on this side and a description of their function on this side. So if we're looking at the arguments between semantic arguments versus syntactic or pragmatic, I think it's fair to say that the set of propositions about the world is pragmatic. It all happens within a context, and we need to be able to communicate successfully, to use language successfully. In the sense of a tool, we need to pay attention to the customs and or formal features and the historical values of the language we want to use to be able to communicate effectively. Okay, so anyway, so the first order of propositions is pragmatic. It has a use within a context. Okay, so the second order, or pardon me, the first order of metapragmatic propositions are describing the semantic and syntactic features of a proposition that already exists within context. So they are used to disambiguate propositions, which is to say, like, when you said this, did you mean this or that? Or based on the structure of the proposition, we can generate different meanings for the sentence as well. So these are two distinct subsets of the set of first order metapragmatic propositions, because they're both ways that propositions can be linguistically ambiguous. Now, if they are pragmatically ambiguous, we're not going to be asking a question about the proposition itself per se, but we're going to be contributing more information to the context. So we're just going back to using pragmatic propositions.